Hello everyone, it's Cindy with Monarch Mom DIY. Welcome to my first Valentine decor DIY video of this new year. I hope you enjoy these 4 projects. Before we get started, I hope you'll go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let's get into the first DIY. For this first project, I'm using 2 of these box signs from Dollar Tree, some buffalo check scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, and some paint. The first thing I'm going to do is take off the heart from the middle and the little wood piece that raises it up. Next, using my Waverly chalk paint in white, I'm going to paint around the frame of each of these signs and also just a little bit onto the inside of each picture. Next, I'm going to paint the 2 hearts. I'm going to paint one of them with pink and one with red. Now, I did not have any pink chalk paint, so I am going to use this pink acrylic paint, but add some white chalk paint to it just to thicken it up for better coverage. Next, I'm cutting 2 pieces of my buffalo check scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby to fit inside each of my signs. And I'm just going to fix that in with some matte finish Mod Podge from Dollar Tree. First with my pencil and then with paint markers, I'm going to write the word hugs on my pink heart and kisses on my red heart. And once those are dry, I'm just going to hot glue them back into the sign. And here's how this one turned out. I absolutely love doing this same craft idea for different holidays and seasons. Our next DIY, I'm using 2 of these red glitter foam hearts from Dollar Tree, some different buffalo check ribbon, or you can use fabric if you want. And then I'm using these 2 candlesticks that I found at a local thrift store. I've had them for a while and I was so excited that I finally figured out what I was going to do with them. The first thing I'm doing is giving each of them 1 coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color white. When I bought them, they were this kind of yellowed, I don't know, ivory look. So I'm really loving how they're turning out with a fresh coat of the white paint. While those are drying, you'll see I'm taking these 2 foam hearts and I already started with the red buffalo plaid ribbon. I'm just wrapping the ribbon around the foam heart to cover up the glitter and to give this more of a farmhouse look for Valentine's Day. If you don't have ribbon on hand, you could do strips of fabric, you could do jute twine, or even yarn. The possibilities are endless with this. Just be creative and see what happens. As you can see, this process does take some patience, but I was really happy with the finished look. And I'm just going to repeat that same process with this smaller white and black buffalo check ribbon. This actually was in the gift wrap area at Hobby Lobby this Christmas. So it was like 30 feet, regularly $4.99. I got it half price for $2.50. And I did need the whole thing to go around this foam heart. And here's what the hearts looked like once they were wrapped. I did stick them up on the little pin that was at the top of each candlestick. It was a little wobbly, so I did use one Jenga block on each one to secure it. For our third DIY, I'm using one of these mason jar signs from the summer, two of these Love Valentine signs, some Valentine treat boxes, this wall sticker, and I do end up using a little bit of greenery after all is said and done. So once I remove the strings and tags and the galvanized hearts from these two signs, I'm going to scrape off any excess glue and then show you how I'm going to attach these two signs together to make one larger sign. So using some of these jumbo craft sticks from Walmart, I'm going to turn my two signs over and I'm just going to hot glue a few of these across the back to connect the two signs together and give it a little bit more stability. Once that hot glue is dry, I'm going to turn my sign over and give it a coat of Waverly chalk paint in mineral. One coat was enough to cover even the red of the word love on the signs. Next, I'm taking 3 of these Valentine treat boxes that you can find now at Dollar Tree. I'm taking them apart to make the 6 halves, and to get rid of that cheap plastic look, I'm going to paint them with Waverly chalk paint in the color Crimson, just to give this a little softer, more farmhouse look. Next, I'm taking this mason jar drink sign that I got in the summertime. Sometimes you can still find them. I'm going to turn this handled jar into just a mason jar. So after removing the string, I'm going to cut off the handle and the little tip of the straw, and then also remove the lemon and the orange from the front. Now that my mug looks like a jar, I'm going to take that same pink acrylic paint and some white Waverly chalk paint and give this jar a nice soft pink color. If you've watched many of my videos, you may have seen me do this before, where I'm going to draw pencil lines like would be the lid of the jar, and then I'm going to trace those with hot glue and let it dry. Now that my sign is dry, I'm just taking my black paint marker and running it down the grooves on the sign to give it more of a farmhouse palette wood look. Of course, where the two signs are attached together, I'm using a ruler because there isn't a groove there, just so the palette look is uniform. Now that my hot glue on my jar is dry, I'm going to take a piece of aluminum foil and make this the lid of my jar. I'm going to press it down and form it around the hot glue lines and then glue it into place using wood glue. You could use hot glue or even Mod Podge for this step. While that glue is drying, I'm going to figure out the placement of my wall sticker that says "Love Grows Here." Now that the glue on my foil is dry, I'm just going to cut the extra off using my utility knife. I decided I wanted to distress the jar a little bit, so I'm using some of this brown shoe polish that you can also find at Dollar Tree. I'm just running some along the edge and then buffing it out with my finger. And then I'm going to glue back on one of the galvanized hearts from one of the signs I started with originally. All right, so here you can see the pieces coming together. I have my jar on the sign, and I'm using some leaves from this spider plant to be stems for my little heart flowers. Now that I have the stems in place, I'm going to put some hot glue around the bottom of each of these hearts and glue them into place on my sign. I decided to add a few more little branches of the spider plant, and then I was ready to glue the jar over the top. And here's the finished product. This was one of those projects that I had an idea, and then it just really kept evolving as I was going along, and I absolutely love it. For the last project, I'm using 4 small white clay pots, some moss, some floral foam, these sticks, and I printed out these letters on cardstock. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use them as stencils and then trace and cut out these same letters but from pieces of a cardboard box, because I wanted them to be a little thicker, a little more substantial. So here's my box. I'm going to trace them, cut them out, and then you'll see what we're going to do with them next. So I'm going to take some of this floral foam from Dollar Tree and just put a very small square of it in the bottom of each of these pots. I will say these pots were from Dollar Tree. I had originally given them this whitewashed paint look when I was going to use them for a different project and never did. I'm going to use 4 of these wooden dowels from Dollar Tree as little stems. So I'm taking 4 of them and painting them Waverly chalk paint, color white, almost all the way down to the bottom. Once the paint is dry, I'm going to hot glue 1 dowel on the back of each of my cardboard letters that I cut out. So this step is a little messy. You'll see I have a tray holding the floral moss. What I'm going to do with each of these letters on the stick is I'm going to put a section of hot glue and then stick some of the floral moss on. I'm going to do the front sides of each letter and then trim the excess, and then do the same thing on the back, and then go and fill in any gaps. Once my letters were all done, I'm taking and poking each stick into one of the pots, giving some hot glue down there so that it'll stay in. And then we will add some floral moss to the top of the floral foam just to cover up that floral foam and make it look finished. And lastly, I decided to add one more little farmhouse look to this DIY. I'm making 4 little bows using this black and white buffalo plaid ribbon that I'm going to add to each of the sticks. And I'm also going to wrap one piece of the ribbon around the top part of each pot. And here's how they turned out. I am so in love with this craft, and actually all 4 of these DIYs I really enjoyed making. I would love to know in the comments which one you guys enjoyed the most. Leave that in the comments below, and any other ideas you guys have of Valentine crafts you'd like to see in future videos. Thanks, and I'll see you soon. Bye.